Imagine stepping out of the shower, drying off, and realizing you have just coated your entire body in the exact same stubborn, chalky film that you spend like hours scrubbing off your glass shower doors.
Yeah, it sounds completely impossible, right?
Exactly. I mean, we step into the shower expecting this total renewal. You turn on the tap, lather up, and you expect to walk away feeling completely refreshed.
Right. But depending on your zip code, coating yourself in this microscopic layer of bathtub scum is actually exactly what's happening every single time you bathe.
And that invisible payload is the focus of our deep dive today. We are pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources to figure this out.
Yeah, we've got clinical guidelines from the NHS, dermatology research from King's College London and the University of Sheffield, and detailed municipal water quality reports.
Right. And our mission today is to investigate this highly surprising, almost totally hidden link between our daily environment and our skin.
Specifically, we're zeroing in on how hard water environments are quietly driving severe skin irritation, exacerbating chronic conditions like eczema.
And perhaps most shockingly, serving as the hidden culprit behind severe irritation in our most delicate areas, like the vulva. Okay, let's unpack this. How is water, the substance we literally need to survive, turning into a delivery system for skin damage?
Well, to understand the damage, we first have to isolate the invisible chemistry happening in your bathroom. We really need to break down the term hard water.
Right, because we throw that phrase around a lot when we complain about our dishwashers leaving spots on our glasses, but what does it actually mean chemically?
Chemically speaking, hard water is just water carrying a really high concentration of dissolved minerals,
Yeah.
so primarily calcium and magnesium ions.
Okay.
When water falls as rain, it's naturally soft. But as it percolates through underground rock formations,
Liz limestone or chalk, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Limestone, chalk, gypsum, it acts as a solvent, picking up heavy concentrations of those calcium and magnesium minerals long before it ever reaches your local treatment plant.
Which means it is perfectly safe to drink. I mean, our bodies need calcium,
Yeah.
but bathing in it seems to trigger a completely different biological reaction.
It does. It comes down to a harsh collision of pH levels. The skin on the human body is naturally acidic.
Right.
It maintains this very specific, slightly acidic environment, usually sitting around a 4.5 to 5.5 on the pH scale. This is called the acid mantle.
And the sources describe that as a literal physical film, right? Made up of sebum, which is your natural oil, mixed with sweat and amino acids.
Exactly. And this acidic shield is vital because harmful bacteria and pathogens, they really struggle to survive in an acidic environment, while your native friendly skin flora absolutely thrives in it.
But hard water is highly alkaline, often sitting at an 8 or above on the pH scale.
Yes. And because the pH scale is logarithmic, an 8 isn't just a little bit higher than a 5, it is exponentially more alkaline.
So every time you step under the shower head, you are basically bombarding your acidic protective shield with an alkaline mineral bath.
You're completely neutralizing your own acid mantle. When you expose the skin's outer proteins to highly alkaline water, those proteins physically swell up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, their structure actually alters. They lift up, creating these microscopic gaps in the barrier. But the chemistry gets much more aggressive when you introduce traditional soap into the equation.
Because we never just shower in water, right? We're
Yeah.
always adding a cleanser of some sort.
Right, then that is where the chemical reaction really kicks off. Traditional soaps and shampoos, they rely on surfactants.
Like sodium lauryl sulfate, or SLS.
Exactly. Things like SLS that create lather and lift away dirt. But the issue is that these traditional surfactants carry a negative electrical charge.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the heavy calcium and magnesium ions in your hard water carry a positive electrical charge.
So they basically act like magnets.
Yes, they seek each other out immediately.
Yeah.
The calcium ions bind aggressively to the surfactants in your soap. And when they fuse, they undergo a chemical change and precipitate into an entirely new, insoluble substance. It literally turns into a sticky, chalky salt.
Which is soap scum.
That is what we call soap scum, yeah. It is the identical, stubborn ring you have to scrub out of your bathtub with harsh chemicals.
Meaning that exact same soap scum is forming on our arms, our legs, our faces.
And it doesn't rinse away. Because it's insoluble in water, turning up the shower head does absolutely nothing.
Right.
It just coats the skin, settles into the microcrevices, clogs the pores, and traps bacteria underneath it. It physically blocks your body's natural sebum from reaching the surface to rehydrate the skin.
I have to push back on this a little bit, though, because if I think about, like, washing a cast iron pan.
Okay.
You scrub it with hot water, you strip the oil away, and the pan gets this literal squeaky friction to it. A lot of people really love that feeling on their skin.
Oh, absolutely.
They want to step out of the shower and run a hand down their arm and feel a bit of drag. They want to feel squeaky clean. Doesn't that mean the soap successfully stripped away the dirt?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the squeaky clean feeling is actually a deeply ingrained myth.
Really?
Yeah, cosmetic companies have sold us this for decades. That squeak is not the sensation of clean skin. That is the physical sensation of friction caused by a sticky layer of mineral residue.
Oh, wow.
It's dragging against your hand on a surface that has been completely stripped of its protective lipid layer.
Yeah.
Healthy, hydrated, truly clean skin with an intact acid mantle should feel smooth and supple.
So it should never squeak.
It should never feel tight, and it should absolutely never squeak.
So we are essentially coating ourselves in a microscopic layer of bathtub scum, stripping our natural oils and calling it clean because it squeaks.
That is the chemical reality, unfortunately. And the consequences go far beyond just feeling a little dry for an hour until you put lotion on.
Right.
That mineral residue fundamentally compromises the skin's structural integrity over time.
Which logically brings us to the research on chronic skin conditions. Because if that barrier is swollen and gapped by the alkaline water and coated in chalky salt, it can't hold on to hydration.
Exactly.
And the dermatology sources refer to this specific mechanism as TEWL, right? Transepidermal water loss.
Yeah, TEWL. It's the physical mechanism of water passively evaporating from the deeper layers of your skin, up through that compromised barrier and out into the surrounding air.
Okay.
When the acid mantle is disrupted and the soap scum is just sitting on the surface, TEWL skyrockets. The skin is basically hemorrhaging moisture into the air.
That sounds awful.
It is. Furthermore, the high concentration of calcium left resting on the skin actively inhibits the skin cells' ability to repair themselves.
The clinical studies on this are incredible, by the way. The research from King's College London and the University of Sheffield, they didn't just look at this in a petri dish.
Right, they mapped it out in the real world.
Yeah, and they found that chronic exposure to hard water physically increases the skin's sensitivity to everyday irritants.
The skin becomes hyperpermeable. So environmental allergens that would normally just bounce right off a healthy acid mantle can now easily penetrate the deep layers of the epidermis.
And the Sheffield and King's College data points to a very specific vulnerability, right? For infants and individuals who carry a mutation in what's known as the FLG gene.
Yes, the filigran gene.
Let's define that, because the sources lean heavily into filigran as this crucial structural protein.
Think of your skin barrier as a brick wall. The skin cells are the bricks. And filigran is a critical component of the mortar holding those bricks tightly together.
Okay, I can picture that.
If you have a mutation in the FLG gene, your body just doesn't produce enough of this mortar. Your brick wall is inherently crumbly, weak, and drafty from the day you were born.
And the sources note that up to half of all people who suffer from eczema carry some form of this filigran mutation.
Exactly. Their barrier is genetically compromised to begin with. Now imagine taking that already fragile, crumbling brick wall and blasting it daily with heavy, alkaline, calcium-rich water.
And trapping sticky soap scum inside the cracks.
The wall just collapses.
Yeah.
The cohort data maps the dose-response relationship so clearly. The risk of developing eczema rises by roughly 2% for every 50 milligrams per liter increase of calcium carbonate in the local water supply.
So what does this all mean? If we look at the mechanism there, hard water isn't necessarily the root cause of eczema, right?
No, you still have the genetic predisposition.
Right. But the hard water acts as this relentless environmental trigger. It takes vulnerable skin and forcefully pushes it over the edge into a full-blown chronic flare-up simply because we bathe every day.
It's an inescapable daily aggravator for anyone living in those zip codes.
So if this chalky film is aggressive enough to compromise the thick, relatively tough skin on our arms, our backs, and our legs, it raises a terrifying question about what happens when that same alkaline residue sits on the most delicate, thinnest tissue on the human body.
It really does.
And this shifts us into a highly specific area detailed in the NHS clinical guidelines. We're looking at how hard water drives severe vulvar skin irritation.
This is a massive clinical blind spot, mostly because of the stigma surrounding genital health.
Right.
The vulva, the external female genitalia, features skin that is anatomically distinct from the rest of the body.
So,
Well, the stratum corneum, which is the tough outermost layer of dead skin cells that protects our arms and legs, it's incredibly thin
right.
or just entirely absent in these mucosal areas.
Meaning the skin there is exponentially more permeable and fragile.
Highly fragile.
Ah.
And the nerve endings are densely packed, meaning any irritation is felt intensely.
And the NHS statistics show that about 1 in 10 women will consult a doctor for a persistently itchy vulva at some point in their lives.
Yes, the medical term is pruritus vulvae. 1 in 10 women. That is millions of people suffering from severe sleep disruption, extreme physical discomfort, and psychological distress.
And very often in total silence.
Exactly.
When you look at the NHS list of common everyday irritants that can trigger pruritus vulvae, it includes almost everything in a modern bathroom.
It really does.
It lists bubble baths, fragrance, washing powders, fabric conditioners, feminine hygiene wipes, synthetic underwear, dyes.
And even essential oils like tea tree oil.
Mm.
People often use those thinking they are being natural and gentle.
Right.
But natural does not mean non-irritating, especially to mucosal tissue. Now consider the compounding mechanism we've been discussing.
Okay.
Imagine washing with a standard fragrance soap in a hard water environment. You lather up, you rinse, and you dry off.
And because of the calcium surfactant reaction?
Exactly. A layer of highly alkaline mineral residue combined with the trapped, unrinsed chemical fragrances from the soap is now firmly deposited directly onto this highly permeable, incredibly fragile vulvar tissue.
So you are basically leaving a chemical irritant sitting directly on a mucosal membrane.
And it initiates a massive inflammatory response. This persistent chemical exposure triggers conditions like vulvar dermatitis, also known as lichen simplex chronicus.
That's the condition where the skin becomes so inflamed and itchy from external triggers that it thickens and becomes leathery, right?
Yes.
And the sources note it can severely exacerbate existing autoimmune conditions too, like lichen sclerosis.
Lichen sclerosis is an autoimmune condition that causes the vulvar skin to become incredibly thin, pale, and really prone to tearing.
Oh, wow.
When you add abrasive microscopic soap scum and alkaline water to skin that is already tearing just from basic movement, the pain becomes completely debilitating.
And the sources outline this agonizing physiological loop that takes over.
Yeah, the itch-scratch cycle.
Right. You get this mild initial inflammation from the hard water residue. That inflammation triggers the release of histamines, which causes intense itching.
And the itching leads to rubbing or scratching. Often this happens at night. People scratch in their sleep without even realizing it.
And that mechanical friction physically damages the thin skin surface, creating micro tears.
Those micro tears obliterate whatever is left of the skin barrier. This opens microscopic pathways for bacteria, often the bacteria trapped right there in the soap scum, to enter the deeper layers of the tissue.
And then the immune system detects the bacteria, ramps up the inflammation even further to fight it.
Which releases more histamines, which causes more itching. The cycle just feeds itself endlessly.
Which brings up a really concerning point about diagnosis. If the primary symptoms include burning, intense itching, and redness,
Yeah.
how many people are sitting at home right now assuming they have contracted a chronic infection? Like, how many people are convinced they have recurrent thrush, a severe yeast infection, or even herpes, when in reality, they're just experiencing contact dermatitis from their tap water?
It is honestly one of the most common misdiagnoses in gynecology and dermatology, because society conditions us to associate genital discomfort with infections or poor hygiene. People immediately assume it's a bug.
Right.
Fungal and bacterial infections are certainly real, but clinical data shows that non-infectious vulvitis, meaning severe inflammation, caused entirely by environmental irritants like hard water and sopa, counts for up to 1/3 of all these cases.
A third of the cases aren't infections at all. It's literally an allergic and chemical reaction to the bathroom environment.
And the tragedy of that misdiagnosis plays out in how people try to fix it. When someone assumes they have a fungal or bacterial infection, their first instinct is to aggressively clean the area.
So they overwash.
They overwash. They buy harsher antibacterial soaps. They use heavily fragranced wet wipes. They apply over-the-counter antifungal creams, and some even resort to douching.
You think you are rinsing away the problem, but washing that delicate, already inflamed tissue with alkaline tap water and traditional soap, I mean, it's like trying to clean a frayed silk shirt using steel wool and bleach.
That's a great analogy.
You are actively destroying the fabric to get it clean.
The vagina and the surrounding vulvar ecosystem are largely self-cleaning and self-regulating. Overwashing with hard water completely decimates the natural, healthy lactobacilli bacteria that keep the area acidic and healthy.
Right.
You strip the remaining acid mantle, deposit a fresh layer of mineral soap scum, and make the dermatitis significantly worse. The interventions they use to cure the perceived infection are the exact mechanisms driving the chronic inflammation.
It requires a total reframing of personal care. So if you're listening to this and you are recognizing these symptoms, the tightness, the chronic eczema flare-ups, or the persistent vulvar irritation, how can you figure out if this invisible chemistry is actually happening in your own home?
Well, the first diagnostic tool is simple observation of timing.
Okay.
Do the symptoms spike immediately after bathing or within an hour of drying off? If water was truly hydrating the skin, a shower should soothe the irritation, not amplify it.
That makes sense. The sources also highlight something called the travel clue. If you travel for work or go on vacation to a city with softer water, and your skin miraculously clears up within a few days, only to immediately flare up the day you return home.
That is a massive geographic red flag that your local municipal water is the environmental trigger.
You can also execute the 7-day swap test, right?
Yes, highly recommend this. For 1 week, change nothing about your routine except the water you use for your final cleanse.
So using bottled, distilled water or heavily filtered water?
Exactly. Use it to wash your face or as a final rinse for sensitive areas like the vulva. Keep your soaps, your laundry detergent, and your diet exactly the same.
And if the severe symptoms drastically drop within those 7 days, you've isolated hard water as the primary variable.
And the municipal water reports make this incredibly easy to check too.
Right. Because water is officially classified as hard when it contains 120 milligrams per liter of calcium carbonate, according to the sources.
And it reaches the very hard classification at 180 milligrams per liter. These aren't secret numbers. You could look up your local water quality report online by zip code and see exactly how many milligrams of calcium are flowing out of your tap.
Okay, so once you confirm the water is hard, especially if you are managing vulvar dermatitis, the NHS clinical guidelines prescribe very specific behavioral modifications.
Yes. First, the temperature of the water matters. Take shorter showers using only lukewarm water.
Because hot water acts as a stronger solvent, right?
Okay.
Melting away your natural sebum much faster than cold water.
Exactly. And regarding vulvar care specifically, the NHS is unambiguous. Wash the vulva only once a day.
Just once.
When you exit the shower, you must dab the skin dry with a soft towel. You can never rub it. Rubbing creates that mechanical friction that leads to micro tears.
Right.
The guidelines also stress removing all scented products. No scented toilet paper, no bubble baths, no perfumed lotions.
And for clothing, they suggest switching exclusively to loose-fitting cotton or silk underwear.
Yes. Synthetic fabrics like polyester trap heat and moisture, which breeds bacteria, while tight clothing creates friction. The guidelines even suggest wearing no underwear at all whenever possible, particularly while sleeping.
To allow the mucosal tissue to breathe and repair without friction.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The ultimate irony of modern skincare is buried right there in the guidelines. The absolute best way to care for your most sensitive skin, especially in a hard water environment, is to practice subtraction.
Subtraction, yes.
We are so conditioned by marketing to buy a new cream, a new serum, or a new wash to fix a skin problem. We always want to add a product, but here, doing less washing, less soap, less scrubbing, less friction is the actual medical intervention.
Because subtraction allows the body's natural physiological systems to reset. The acid mantle can only rebuild itself if you stop actively stripping it away.
But subtraction only goes so far because, we still have to wash occasionally. If traditional soap and hard water create a magnetic reaction that forms soap scum, we have to change the chemistry of the cleanser. The dermatological sources strongly advise abandoning traditional soap. So what is the chemical alternative?
The alternative is a Syndet bar.
Syndet.
Syndet is a portmanteau for synthetic detergent. Now, the word synthetic often gets a bad reputation in wellness circles, but in the context of hard water, synthetic chemistry is vastly superior for the human skin barrier.
How does the mechanism differ from regular soap, though?
Traditional soap is created through a process called saponification, mixing fats with a highly alkaline substance like lye. That process gives the soap its negative charge, which acts as the magnet for the heavy minerals.
Right, the magnet effect.
Syndet bars, or aqueous emollient washes, are engineered with a completely different molecular structure. They utilize synthetic surfactants that are often pH balanced to match the skin's natural 5.5 acidity.
Oh, that makes sense.
And more importantly, they do not carry the same electrical charge. When the calcium and magnesium in the hard water encounter a Sindit bar, there is no magnetic attraction.
They just slide right past each other.
The heavy minerals stay dissolved in the water, and the synthetic cleanser rinses away cleanly. No chemical reaction occurs, which means absolutely no sticky soap scum is precipitated onto your skin.
The pores remain clear, and the barrier remains intact,
Exactly.
which solves the soap scum issue. But the heavy alkaline calcium is still hitting the skin and altering the pH. The true root cause solution has to be physically altering the water before it leaves the shower head, right?
Treating the environment at the source is always the gold standard. For homeowners, a whole home water softening system is the most effective intervention.
Okay.
These systems force the incoming water through a resin bed loaded with sodium ions. Through a process of ion exchange, the resin physically traps and removes the heavy calcium and magnesium, swapping them for harmless sodium before the water ever enters your home's plumbing.
It literally strips the rock out of the water. But those systems require a house, plumbing access, and a significant amount of money. If you rent an apartment, you can't just install a whole home system.
Which is exactly why point-of-use filters are critical. The sources highlight accessible technology, like the AquaBliss shower filter.
What's that?
These are small, multi-stage filtration cylinders that you simply screw in between your shower arm and your shower head.
Oh, nice.
They use combinations of kinetic degradation fluxion, active carbon, and calcium sulfite to help filter out the harsh minerals, balance the pH, and reduce chlorine right at the point of bathing.
So it's a highly practical, renter-friendly way to intercept the mineral bombardment.
Exactly.
You know, it fundamentally comes down to taking control over the microscopic environment we subject ourselves to every day.
Absolutely.
We spend so much energy, stress, and money blaming our genetics or feeling shame about our bodies or frantically searching for the perfect lotion to cure our dry, itchy skin in conditions like vulvar dermatitis.
We assume something is wrong with us internally.
Right. But the clinical data reveals that the true culprit is so often an invisible, aggressive chemical reaction happening right on the surface of our skin. It's the violent clash between alkaline, rock-heavy tap water, the negative charge of traditional soap, and our delicate acidic barrier.
And by understanding the mechanics of that invisible chemistry, you reclaim control. You realize that your skin isn't necessarily failing.
It is reacting logically to a hostile environment.
Exactly. You can stop endlessly treating the symptoms with harsher and harsher interventions and start managing the physics of the environment that is triggering the inflammatory response in the first place.
It completely changes how you look at a simple glass of tap water, and it leaves you with one final, slightly unsettling thought based on everything we've just unpacked.
Oh.
If simply bathing in these dissolved heavy minerals is enough to completely denature proteins, alter our external pH, destroy our acid mantle, and trigger severe chronic inflammation on the outside of our bodies.
Right.
What exactly is this daily dose of high alkaline calcium carbonate doing to the delicate, highly sensitive microbiome living inside our guts every single time we drink it?
That is a fascinating area of emerging science. The internal environment is just as sensitive to these microscopic variables as the external one.
Something to think about the next time you turn on the tap. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the invisible chemistry of our daily routines.